The Tulane Green Wave fell just short of yet another American Athletic Conference championship and thusly a berth in yet another New Year's Six bowl game. But they're ready to do it all over again in 2024. However, they did lose a lot of talent, and their head coach, Willie Fritz, has taken the job at Houston. Enter John Sumrall. Can he continue the Green Wave's momentum, and can that wave be ridden all the way to the college football playoff? You're about to find out what I think here in this video. What's up, Tailgaters? You're in the booth with Tailgate Nate today. I want to welcome you to my channel and welcome you to prediction season. That's where I'm predicting all 134 FBS level college football teams, which means I'm doing your favorite team. And whether you're a Green Wave fan or not, you want to know when your team has a video on my channel. Well, you do that, hit the subscribe button, ring the bell so you know when your team has a video on my channel. I want to thank you guys so much for watching this video. It helps support my channel in more ways than you can even imagine. And if you would like to continue to support what I do here on YouTube, please like, comment, share, watch my other videos, and do anything else you can to interact with the channel because it does help to support what I do here on YouTube. And I'm extremely grateful and thankful for whatever you guys are able to do. Enough of all that, though. Let's dive into talking about the Tulane Green Wave in 2024. Well, how do we do that? That's pretty simple. We're going to take a deep dive into the team's offense, into the defense, and at the end of the day, we will go through the Green Wave football schedule and give it a game-by-game preview and prediction. A couple things before we do start. Right over here are going to be the stats the team either offensively or defensively put up last season. And for your viewing pleasure, dear viewer, right below the team logo, I have put the team's coaching staff. So I will waste no more time. Let's get into talking about the Green Wave in 2024. You got to start with the most important position on the field. That is the quarterback position. And Michael Pratt is gone to now play in the NFL. The former Tulane quarterback was very, very good with this program. 2,406 yards, 22 touchdowns, 5 interceptions on 65% completion percentage last season. But again, his best season was definitely that season that Tulane made the college football playoff New Year's Six bowl game. Not the playoff, my apologies, a New Year's Six bowl game in 2023, was very good there, underperformed relative to that expectation last season, but overall, Michael Pratt is a very talented player, and Tulane will be missing him dearly. So you do get a couple players coming back to this wide receiver room. Kai Horton was the figured starter coming into 2023 or 2024. I do believe started a couple games as Michael Pratt dealt with some injury things last season. 604 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 picks for him last season. Justin Ibieta also comes back, but enter Ty Thompson, a player coming over from the Oregon Ducks that, again, got lost behind a very talented quarterback room. You got put behind Bo Nix. Now you're going to get put behind Dylan Gabriel and Dante Moore. He decided to come over. He should be the starting quarterback, at least in my opinion, for the Tulane Green Wave. It's either going to be him or Kai Horton. And I think Ty Thompson has some higher upside. I think that he will give the Tulane Green Wave offense and the team overall its best chance to win. Let's talk about what he's going to have as far as skill position players. You do lose a couple guys out of this running back room as Shedro Lewis is going to be gone, as well as Iverson Celestine. Both of those guys were depth pieces last year. Lewis was supposed to play a little bit of a bigger role, at least in my opinion, coming over from Liberty. Didn't end up happening. He's run out of college eligibility, while Celestine, again, was a depth piece in this room. So a lot of your key contributors at running back do come back, and that includes Mekhi Hughes. He'll be one of the best running backs in the group of 5 realm, if not one of the leading rushers among the entire country, as he was last season. 1,378 yards on 258 carries. That's 5.3 yards per carry for those of you math nerds out there, with 7 touchdowns last season, a long of 58 last year. Shaddy Clayton Johnson will also be coming back, had 150 yards last season, and Arnold Barnes, who ended up having 138 yards on the year. But again, it is Mekhi Hughes' show in this running back room. Clayton Johnson and Barnes are just living in it, but they will be good pieces in the running back room for this Tulane offensive attack. In the wide receiver room, a lot of talented pieces going to be gone off of this team. You lose, your top 3 receivers from a season ago, Jaquan Jackson and Lawrence Keys, both of which are going to be off to the NFL. Keys was the leading touchdown man last year, had 7 of them for 599 yards. Jackson had 439 yards and 4 touchdowns. And you lose Chris Brazel II going over through the transfer portal. He has found a new home, I believe, in the Tennessee Volunteers. Yes, that is correct. 711 yards, 5 touchdowns for him on a team high 44 catches. You also are losing Chris Carter due to graduation, 142 yards and 2 touchdowns out of the tight end room. So, okay, what do you have coming back? Well, even though the top 3 receivers for the Green Wave are gone, there's still a lot of talent in this wide receiver room. Keith Brown, Dante Fleming, Bryce Bohannon, and Fat Watts. Fat Watts was a guy that played a big role in the wide receiver room in 2022. Didn't see playing time in 2023. I believe was dealing with injury. He's back in 2024 to play a pretty substantial role in this wide receiver room, and you get some very talented transfers coming into this room. Shaz Preston, he's an Alabama transfer, and Mario Williams coming over from USC. Yeah, those two guys are going to be huge pieces to this wide receiver room. And while you lose guys like Jackson and Keys and Brazel, this wide receiver room is still going to be really, really good if those transfers play a big role in 2024. Alex Bauman, Reggie Brown, and Blake Gunner are all back in the tight end room as well. Bauman the leader among those, 35 catches, 286 yards, 5 touchdowns last season. And with Prince Pine, Sincere, Hainsworth, and Cameron Wire gone to the NFL off the offensive line, your offensive line room looks like this. Oh, my apologies. You also are getting Anthony Miller in the tight end room from the transfer portal. But anyway, your offensive line room looks like this. Trey Tuggle, Shadre Hurst, Rashad Green, Josh Remitich, I hope I pronounced that last name right, Caleb Thomas, and Matt Lombardi all come back, while you get Vincent Murphy as a transfer. And he is coming over from Western Kentucky. You also do get Derek Graham over from Texas A&M, Gabe Forston over from Georgia Tech, but Vincent Murphy expected to probably be the most likely contender for a starting role in 2024, as again, you have to replace some pretty key pieces on the offensive line. Okay, quarterback play is going to matter a lot here for the Tulane Green Wave because Mekhi Hughes, very talented player. This wide receiver room, yes, you lost your top 3 targets from a season ago, but with Williams and Preston coming in, along with Fat Watts returning, Brown and Fleming are still very solid pieces. There's a lot of talent in the skill position room. Alex Bauman is a very good tight end as well. What is the level that Kai Horton or more likely Ty Thompson is going to play at? They're going to need to play at a high level here, and who knows, they may be able to outperform Michael Pratt's stat line from last season, but whether it's Horton or Thompson, both of those guys are going to need a little bit of development, and I'm so excited to see whichever one of those guys take the field, how they play for the Green Wave offense in 2024. I think that's the key to this offense. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Now let's talk about the defense, which, yes, the offense lost a lot of pieces. So did the defense. It was a really good rush defense last year. Secondary had its hiccups, had its ups and downs, but this is the defense overall that was really, really good and has been really good over the past couple of seasons. John Sumrall had some really good defenses over at Troy. Again, he is your new head coach for the Tulane Green Wave, but his group does lose a lot of talent. Let's start out with the defensive line. Darius Hodges is going to be gone. Hodges last year, really, really good player. 25 tackles, led the team with 7.5 sacks. He's gone to play on Sundays, while you do lose a couple other guys through the transfer portal. Devine Deal is gone, 43 tackles, 4 sacks for him last season. And Keith Cooper had 32 tackles, 5 sacks of his own. So those are already some really, really talented pieces that are going to be leaving this defensive line. You do have some nice pieces coming back, though. Patrick Jenkins is one of them, 35 tackles, 5.5 sacks for him last season, but it doesn't stop there. Eric Hicks, Cameron Hamilton, Angelo Anderson, Adonis Freelo, and Matthew Fobbs White will all be coming back, while you do get Deshaun Batiste coming in through the transfer portal as well. Batiste is following his former head coach, John Sumrall, over from Troy. In the linebacker room, you do lose some really solid pieces here as well. Both of these guys leaving through the transfer portal. Jared Small, 60 tackles, 2 sacks for him last season. And Corey Platt Jr., definitely had himself some pretty good moments when he played. Only 15 tackles, but again, really talented player in his own right. When you take a look at the linebacker room, well, Jesus Machado is going to be coming back. Leading tackler for the Green Wave last season, dang near broke 100. He had 98 tackles last year. Tyler Grubbs, your second leading tackler, who also posted 3 sacks, will also be coming back, while Dixon Agu and Mekhi Williams will provide some depth to this linebacker room. Defensive back room. Here is where a ton of talent leaves this team. Lance Robinson and Jarius Monroe. Both of those guys in the cornerback room are going to be gone to the NFL. Jarius Monroe, 48 tackles, led the team with 10 passes defended, had 3 interceptions as well, but Lance Robinson, right behind Monroe on the tackle leaderboard, 7 passes defended and 4 interceptions last season. And I actually should take back my word. Jarius Monroe was second on the team in passes defended. And while you lose A.J. Hampton and Tahir Anor gone due to graduation, Hampton, another very talented player, 26 tackles, 4 passes defended last season. Cam Pettisclo, he has graduated. The former, I believe, Louisiana transfer is gone, and he was the leader in passes defended last year. Out of the safety position, 56 tackles, defended 12 passes a season ago. Darius Swanson is also going to be gone due to graduation and through the transfer portal. Again, some very talented pieces. DJ Douglas is gone. He had 3 interceptions a season ago, as is Kentrell Webb. Can be a very solid player, had 17 tackles for the defense last season. So it's a defensive back room. Loses a ton of talent. What do you have coming back? Well, in the cornerback room, there's nothing really substantial coming back to this program. So they had to supplement. They dove into the transfer portal and got Lou Tillery as well as Keontae Curry. And both of those guys will play really big roles in this defensive back room out of the cornerback position for Tulane. Tillery is a guy that comes over from ULM, and then you get the guy in Keontae Curry. Trying to find him here real quick. I do believe he's a JUCO transfer, but I'll be back 1 second. I'll check that. Yes, he technically is a community college transfer that came over as a safety, but they'll play him as a corner because it's a position of need. He's coming from Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College. So, again, that's a guy coming in there. You do have some other players coming in through the portal in the cornerback room as well, but again, we'll talk about them at the end. Safety position, a lot of talent comes in through the portal, but you do get a couple pretty notable guys back, and Bailey Despaney and Kevin Adams back in the safety room. You do get Jalen Geiger, Caleb Ransaw, Chris Rogers, and Jack Chinchow. I hopefully pronounced that last name right, but all of those guys come in through the transfer portal. Geiger comes over from Kentucky. You get Caleb Ransaw coming over from Troy. Following over here, Micah Robinson is another guy that I didn't mention. He's a transfer coming over from Furman that could play corner. Rogers and Chinchow both come over from Troy again. And then there is a guy by the name of Jonathan Edwards who comes over from Indiana State. Who knows how big of a role he plays. A freshman that I did not mention as well, Jaden Lewis. He's a freshman that enters this program that's going to play really big minutes in the cornerback position. A 4-star according to 24/7 Sports. And he will play some good minutes defensively. And kickers are people too. You lose Valentino Ambrosio and Casey Glover out of the kicking room. Both of them have graduated. So Will Carroll will be doing the punting duties while Lucas Dunker will take over primary kicking duties. The defensive run game should still be really good for Tulane. They still have a lot of very good pieces up front. But again, it's that secondary that has some questions. How well are these transfers going to fit in? Now, a lot of these guys have been with John Summerall before, such as Ransaw, Rogers, and Chinchow. All of those guys have been in the John Summerall system. The defensive front has some talented players, and John Summerall is a very defensive-minded head coach. So I'm very excited to see what the Green Wave defense has in store for us in 2024, and now we can dive on in to predicting the Tulane Green Wave football schedule, and that looks like this. Any game at home will be underlined, while any game on the road is in italics. That's that slanted text. Any game in green is going to be a game that I think the Green Wave are going to win easily. That includes the Week 1 game there, a little spoiler. Any game in yellow is a game that I think they're going to be competitive in and come away with a win, but wouldn't necessarily surprise me if they lost. And red, well, that is a loss. So I've already spoiled that first prediction. Southeastern Louisiana is on the slate first, and Tulane will be able to beat them. And then you got 2 Power 5 opponents on the schedule coming up. 1 out of the Big 12, 1 out of the SEC. It is time to play the Kansas State Wildcats. I think Avery Howard is going to be a really, really good quarterback. However, this one is in Yulman Stadium. If you'll remember, a couple years ago, I do believe Tulane was able to beat Kansas State. So we'll have a see there as what happens. I am going to fact check what I just said there. And I was correct. They did beat Kansas State by a touchdown in Manhattan. Now this one coming over to Yulman Stadium. That's going to matter a lot here, but I think Kansas State is really, really talented. Getting Avery Johnson back at quarterback is huge. He's going to be an absolute stud. They got some really good pieces out there. The wide receiver room, DJ Giddens comes back. And while I think it's a game that Kansas State's definitely got to watch out for, they got some shaky defensive pieces as well, but a lot of really good defensive players. I think John Summerall's group struggles in this one, as Tulane, I think, will drop a very close competitive game to the Kansas State Wildcats. That's going to be a very fun game to watch, but I do think Tulane comes up on the losing end just barely, and I think they lose to Oklahoma as well. That's a team that makes the move from the Big 12 over to the SEC, much like Avery Johnson. I think Jackson Arnold is going to be a stud, and he's got a ton of weapons to work with that are going to be able to attack this Tulane secondary, much like with Avery Johnson. I think Jackson Arnold and the passing attack get the upper hand of the Green Wave as Tulane drops both of their games to Power 5 programs. Again, it wouldn't surprise me if they beat Kansas State at all. That's just not what I'm predicting. On the road against Louisiana, I think the Raging Cajuns will provide a pretty good fight, but I do see Tulane being able to pick up that win. Louisiana is a team that still has some good pieces, but they are not as talented as Tulane, especially since Billy Napier, the former head coach of that program, has left. Tulane will be able to win that game there on the road. Then they get to come back home and start off American Athletic play, and you get a very, very interesting game. They are starting off with, oh my goodness, my apologies. They are starting off with the USF Bulls. Now, you got to watch out for this team in 2024. USF is going to be dangerous yet again. Byron Brown, well, he's going to be coming back. Naquan Wright at running back, he's going to be coming back. They got some really good transfer pieces, including, I believe, a freshman or two coming into that wide receiver room, as well as some good returning pieces. The defense returns a lot of talent, and while they lose Gary Bohannon, it was Byron Brown last year that kind of exploded as the quarterback for that team. He is there, and USF is going to be a very difficult team to beat in 2024. They're going to be feisty, they're going to be competitive, but again, Ullman Stadium does matter. It's a very good home field advantage for Tulane, and I do believe that they are going to be able to win that game at home. Would it surprise me if they lost that game? Again, no. I think Byron Brown is a really good quarterback, and I think USF is a very dangerous team in the American Athletic this season. However, I do believe that Tulane, a little bit more talented offensively. I don't think USF will be able to slow down Mekhi Hughes and some of the other pieces, especially if Ty Thompson or Kai Horton, whoever happens to start, again, I believe it to be Ty Thompson, plays well. I think Tulane should be able to win that game. On the road against UAB, I think the Blazers are going to get better from where they were last year, and they'll be competitive in this fight at home, but I think Tulane goes on the road and is able to pull off that win. And then the Green Wave get their first bye week of 2024 before they have to go play the Rice Owls. They lost a lot of great skill position players, most notably in Luke McCaffrey. He is gone to the NFL. Some pretty solid defensive pieces do leave as well. And while Rice is still going to be a team that I think contends and pushes for a bowl game in 2024, I do think that I have this as a pretty easy win for the Tulane Green Wave here. I don't think Rice will necessarily be as talented as they were last year. They'll still be a good football team, absolutely, but I think they end up dropping this one to the Tulane Green Wave to push Tulane to 5 wins. And I think they pick up win number 6 on the road against North Texas. A lot of transfers leave that program. There's some overturn in there as well with some of the players on the roster. They lose some good offensive pieces, defensive pieces, going over to other Group of 5, other Power 5 programs. But you got to watch out for North Texas. I still believe that's going to be a very feisty team in 2024, and they could definitely be looking to pull off an upset win or two within their respective conference. Watch out for North Texas. I think they're going to put up a good fight here, but ultimately I see that defensive front of Tulane starting to really get back to playing form from last season. The starting quarterback role will be solidified down, and they will be able to have that skill position room going at full force. So Tulane is able to win that one, and then on Halloween, spooky things happen on Halloween. Is Charlotte going to be able to pull off the upset here? No, I don't think so. Now, Biff Poggy's group, I think, is definitely going to be an improved unit in 2024. I still don't know if that leads to many wins for the Charlotte 49ers. I think Tulane gets a pretty easy win on the road, and then they get to come back home and get a fairly easy win against Temple. Temple was not a great team last year. They were actually, they were a lot worse than what I thought they were going to be last season. So we'll see what that Temple team is made of this year. They still have some pretty solid pieces to build a good foundation, but they are not as talented as Tulane, not by a long shot. I got the Green Wave being able to win that one. These last 2 games of the year are very, very tricky for me because Navy going to be playing a little bit of a different style of football this season. They got some new formations, got some new packages, and they make for some interesting matchups. If this Tulane rush defense especially is not up to par from where it was last year, this could end up being a pretty long day. But I think Tulane has enough offensive pieces to be able to outduel Navy. And again, that defensive front, I don't think will take much of a step back, if it takes one at all, from 2023 and 2024. Navy will put up a good fight, but I think Tulane is able to win that game. And then you get your second bye week before a home game against the Memphis Tigers. This one is going to be a phenomenal contest, but I do think Tulane loses at least one conference game this season, whether that's USF, UAB, North Texas, or this one here, which I think is most likely. I got him losing to the Memphis Tigers. Hey, Seth Hennigan, he is coming back. You got a transfer running back in Mario Henderson coming in. Some great, very experienced pieces at wide receiver. They loaded up on some really good defensive talent through the portal. I got Memphis winning that one, which drops Tulane to 9-3. So they don't get the double-digit win season, but Tulane is still going to be one of the group of five powers. John Sumrall is a very, very good head coach. I think the ceiling for this team, I am going to fix that, actually. I got 11-1 as the ceiling for this team. I mean, this is a team that could still push for a spot in the college football playoff. Again, there are some really tricky games on this schedule. You got the two Power 5 teams, a lot of tough games in conference. But let me know what you guys think about the Green Wave in the comment section below. And as always, remember to play hard but tailgate harder. We'll kick things back off with the Power 5 starting again tomorrow. And we will be moving on to a former American athletic team in the SMU Mustangs. Goodbye.